Well, so far, the spring home buying season has given us nothing. The inventory of homes for sale is somehow dropping, and pending sales are in the gutter, even though mortgage rates are falling. This is not normal. It's a bizarre standoff where everyone's frozen in place, both buyers and sellers. Will the market thaw as we push deeper into the selling season, or is something fundamentally broken? Let's crack open Redfin's warning about this mass exodus from the housing market. Hey, if you're new here, welcome. My name is Jason Ferrier. I'm a Central Ohio realtor and investor. I've been doing it for the last 7 years, and I don't just talk about the housing market. I live in the trenches every day. Consider me your no BS guide to this increasingly bizarre landscape. First up, Redfin's national numbers. Then we'll examine specific markets because national trends tend to mask local realities. Some areas defy expectations and others signal warning signs. Drop your city in the comments below and I'll examine the battlefield of your local housing market in a future video. The name of the latest Redfin article is called "More People Are House Hunting and Applying for Mortgages as Rates Decline." But folks, you're going to see in a second that doesn't actually translate into more sales. And comment below, I want to know from you, why do you think people aren't actually pulling the trigger on houses even though they may be applying? Keep in mind that a record number of home contracts are being canceled right now. In fact, in January, upwards of 40,000 contracts were canceled. Could it be that they apply for a mortgage and then decide, you know what, this is way too expensive? Comment below, let me know what you think. And the article says, more house hunters are touring homes as mortgage rates decline. Mortgage purchase applications rose 7% this week to their highest level since the start of February, as weekly average mortgage rates dipped to their lowest level since mid-December. They say that more house hunters are touring homes as mortgage rates decline. Mortgage purchase applications, they did rise 7% week over week to their highest level since the start of February, as weekly average mortgage rates dipped to their lowest level since mid-December. Hey, a quick break from my video. Please do me a favor and subscribe to my channel. Like this video, comment below. I want to know what's happening in your housing market. Are you buying? Are you selling? Are you investing? Why? Why not? Let us know. Redfin's right. The average daily 30-year fixed mortgage rate is now 6.78% according to Mortgage News Daily. But Redfin admits the uptick in house hunting hasn't translated into an uptick in actual home sales. Pending sales actually fell 6.1% year over year during the 4 weeks ending March 9th, on par with declines over the last few months. If you've been paying attention to my channel, or really just paying attention to the housing market, you would know that pending sales are absolutely in the gutter. And Redfin's lead economist, Chen Zhao, who, by the way, is very helpful. I've emailed her several times. When I don't understand a data point that Redfin puts out, she always responds. So I appreciate her insight and help. But she says mortgage rates are coming down because the country's economic outlook is getting stormier as investors worry about things like tariffs and a slightly weaker than expected job market. Mortgage rates have brought some house hunters who are waiting for costs to come down off the sidelines, but they haven't yet led to more home sales because prospective buyers are still figuring out whether lower payments are enough to justify a home purchase in today's uncertain economy. Many Americans are concerned about things like job security and a potential recession. So comment below, is that you? Are you on the sidelines waiting for the economic storm clouds to disappear before you buy? Or is it just a matter of home prices are insanely expensive and rates are high, and that translates into a lot higher down payment, a lot higher mortgage payment? Let me know in the comments below. I want to hear from you. Now, here's something that they're really not highlighting, but you really need to understand it. On the selling side, new listings of homes for sale are up 3.1% year over year, similar to the upticks we've seen over the last month. Unless you've been living under a rock, you would know that new listings of homes for sale, in other words, homes hitting the market, they've been pathetic, meaning there aren't a lot of sellers selling their homes. They're not willing to. Why? Because their next move is super expensive, right? You're going to have to buy a much more expensive home at a much higher interest rate. And by the way, I've heard a lot of people on YouTube lately talk about how we're going to have an explosion of inventory this spring. A lot of folks have said we've already had an explosion of inventory. My question is, how in the world do you think we've had an explosion of inventory nationally when new listings are so pathetic? People just simply aren't putting their homes on the market. Now, it's true, inventory and new listings are higher than they were last year, That's not saying much because the last few years, both of those metrics have been in the toilet. Now we're moving to the leading indicators of home buying demand. And they show us right here the daily average 30-year fixed mortgage rate. They have it at 6.82% as of March 12th. But as of today, March 14th, we know that's 6.78%, which is even lower. And they say that that's up from 6.7% a week earlier, but still the lowest since December 6th. And look at this, year over year, this time last year, we were actually at 6.87%. So overall, mortgage rates are lower right now than they were this time last year. But remember, that still hasn't translated into more demand actually buying homes. The next metric you need to pay attention to regarding demand in the housing market are mortgage purchase applications. And right now, those are up 7% from a week earlier and up 4% year over year. So more people are applying for mortgages. This next one is also a fairly good indicator of demand, and that's touring activity. How many people are actually out there going through open houses and looking at homes? As an agent who does open houses almost every weekend, I can tell you that the demand and the actual foot traffic of buyers coming through those open houses has been relatively low compared to what I'm used to. But according to Redfin, touring activity is up 32% from the start of the year. Last year, it was up 29% from the start of the year. So I guess it's up 3% year over year. Not much. And here's another indicator of consumer behavior when it comes to buying homes. How many people are just typing into Google home for sale? And that's up 10%. However, it's unchanged from last year. All right, now we're going to look at the national statistics when it comes to prices and inventory levels. You want to pay attention to this because this gives us an overall look of the housing market before we dive into the local specific metros. This first one is the median sale price. You can see it's up about 3% year over year, now at $382,000. Median is the house in the middle. It's not an average, but a lot of people scratch their heads and try to figure out, why is the median price in the US, why has that not crashed yet? I mean, shouldn't we see a housing correction by now? Isn't this going to be 2008 again? Not really. Prices overall are still super high. And I'm not hearing about a lot of people getting great deals. Tell me, have you bought a house recently and got a great deal? Do you know somebody who got a steal of a deal? You hear a lot of people on YouTube talk about how there's going to be massive distress in the housing market come this spring. In fact, many people said we would see it last year. Wrong, hasn't happened. Why hasn't it happened? Because people don't want to put their house on the market. If they were in distress and really needed to sell, they would list their home, right? Well, right now, people are not listing their property. In fact, you can see right here, we had more new listings back in 2022, this time of year, than we do right now. Beyond new listings, the other key piece of info you need to take from this video and use in your local market are active listings. How many active listings do you have in your market right now? That will tell you what may happen to prices. If you look back around 2005, 2006 in the housing market before everything collapsed, you would see that active inventory shot through the roof. We actually peaked around 4 million units of total houses for sale. Right now, we have less than 1 million. So nationally, we're not even close to what we saw back before the GFC. There are folks on YouTube that have been predicting now for a couple years that we would see a flood of inventory, and we haven't seen it. If you're in distress as a homeowner, again, you're going to list your property. If you have to sell, you're going to sell and list it at a price where you're going to sell it. We're not seeing that. And again, you can see it right here. Last week, or a few weeks ago, we had 934,000 houses for sale. Now, 925,000. We actually lost inventory. Pending sales, again, they're horribly low, down 6.1% year over year. And so even though mortgage rates have fallen, hasn't translated into more sales. Now, mortgage rates may continue to fall depending on what the current administration does. And there's probably a magic mortgage rate at which more buyers will come off the sidelines. This next stat is mind-blowing. Pay attention to this. This is the price drops. How many homes actually had a price cut in the last 4 weeks? Not total price cuts. So if they had their home was on the market for, 6 months and they had 4 price cuts, it's not going to show the previous percentages of those. It only shows how many people cut their price in the last 4 weeks. And that's 6.2%, up 1.6% year over year, but it's skyrocketed. It's a 4-year high. In other words, there's a ton of people out there who have listed their home and now have cut the price. This doesn't mean that the median sale price is going to crash. It doesn't mean that home prices are crashing. It means there's a lot of stale inventory out there that's not moving, so people have to cut the price. A lot of these homes, unfortunately, are homes most people can't afford. They're either too expensive or they're destroyed and they need a ton of work, or in their areas that people don't want to buy in. But what I'm not hearing, that there are affordable homes on the market in good areas, priced right, and people are just ignoring them. I'm not hearing that. I'm hearing, hey, Jason, there's a lot of expensive homes on the market that people can't afford, and they're cutting their price. To me, that inventory really doesn't count. All right, so we know nationally buyers aren't buying, sellers are not selling. There hasn't been an explosion of demand, certainly not an explosion of inventory nationally. But again, the national trends can drastically mask what's happening in local housing markets. And you, the viewer, have requested that I analyze several key markets. I'm going to do that right now. If you have a metro you want me to analyze, put it in the comments below. Here's the first one, San Jose, California. New listings. Look at these new listings in San Jose. They're up 35.7%. That is insane. And it's not a 4-year high, but it is going straight up. So there's a lot of people listing their homes in San Jose. See how the markets can be completely different than the national market? Now look at this. These are active listings in San Jose, not people just putting their homes on the market. How many are? It's actually how many homes are active for sale. That's a 4-year high by far in San Jose, up 30%. Just crazy. This one you need to sit down for. 38.7% up in pending sales. So in San Jose, things aren't frozen at all. You've got a huge increase in new listings, a huge increase in active listings, and oh, by the way, a huge increase in people actually buying. This next stat is good if you're a buyer in San Jose, because these are the active listings with price drops. You can see 3.9% of all homes over the last 4 weeks have had a price drop. That's by far a 4-year high. I mean, it's not even close to what they saw over the last few years. However, this next one is pretty depressing if you're in San Jose, because even though there were tons of price cuts, the median sale price is still high. It's actually up 10% year over year, now $1.637 million with an M. Wow. Listings are up through the roof. Why in the world are prices still high? Well, the prices are high because pending sales are up as well. So when your demand is at or outpacing your active supply, you're going to probably have continued pressure on prices to go up, not down. I had a viewer request an area just outside of Memphis, and based on their comment, I wanted to review it. And this is from Rick H6963. A few days ago, in my last update, they put this comment: Jason, houses in my area, 38017, which is just outside of Memphis, I looked it up, are selling, but they are staying on the market a lot longer than just 6 months ago. One down the street just sold for asking price, and the one across the street has been sitting for a while, and they reduced the price by $10,000, and it's still on the market. So now let's go to the Redfin data and see if that matches what we're seeing. Well, new listings, and now this is from the Memphis area, so not just that person's zip code. And by the way, thanks for that comment, Rick. I really appreciate it. You can see new listings down 10% year over year. So less people than 2024 and 22 have their homes listed on the market. Let's look at active listings and see how that's doing. Flat year over year, barely up 0.17%, nothing to write home about. But they've kind of gone sideways again because new listings have been so poor probably, and active listings are going to suffer because of that. But let's look at price drops and see what Rick's saying, if that's correct. Yeah, look at this. In Memphis, Tennessee, look at the percentage of listings with price drops. 6.2%, by far a 4-year high. This is like San Jose, and it's like the national number. A lot of sellers right now are cutting their prices. It doesn't mean there's a lot of inventory. It doesn't mean people are getting deals. A lot of these homes, like Rick says, are just sitting on the market. Because now look at pending sales in Memphis, down 15% year over year. Nationally, we're down 6.1%, but in Memphis, Tennessee, down 15%. That's a 4-year low, by the way. Now, in his comment, Rick mentioned that homes are sitting a lot longer, and this information corroborates that. Median days on market, how long homes are basically taking to sell. In Memphis, 53.3 days. That's up 1.2 days year over year. It is a 4-year high right now. So homes are definitely sitting longer than they have in the last 4 years in Memphis, Tennessee. Now we look at the median sale price in Memphis, Tennessee, up under 1%. Basically, it's flat year over year, but it doesn't look like it's crashed, that's for sure. I'm not sure how it could crash when you have fewer new listings and basically active inventory that's not growing. Now, because I live in Ohio, I always cover Columbus, Cincinnati, and Cleveland, and this is Columbus, Ohio's new listings. Right now, up 2.4% year over year, much like the rest of the country or a lot of parts of the country. Just not seeing a lot of people list their homes for sale, unfortunately. And just like a lot of other areas of the US and nationally, active inventory of homes for sale is elevated compared to last year, but it's not exploding by any means, mainly because new listings haven't skyrocketed. Now, pending sales, on the other hand, are actually up in Columbus 1.9% year over year. The thing that I'm really worried about, and a lot of other people are as well here in Columbus and the central Ohio area, is if pending sales rise because of lower interest rates. And let's face it, the cost of a home in Ohio is relatively low compared to many areas of the US. If pending sales go up because demand spikes, we just don't have the inventory to meet that demand. And that will cause prices to go up even more than they already have. Look at this. Percent of active listings with price drops, 5.3%. That's up 1.1 percentage points year over year. And it's a 4-year high, like it is in almost every market I look at. Price cuts and the sellers slashing their asking price, that's exploding. A lot of buyers I work with locally are just tapped out when it comes to the prices of homes, as they are in many other areas. And now you're starting to really see it in Columbus. We're barely up at all, not even 1% up in median sale price year over year. It's still expensive at $323,000, and it hasn't crashed by any means, but it's not up like 5, 6, 10% that we've seen in the past. So will it drop underneath 2024? We'll wait and see. This next city really illustrates how different markets obviously have different trends. Cleveland, Ohio, they're down 3.8% in the number of new listings. People have just stopped putting their homes on the market in Cleveland. But what about active listings of homes for sale in Cleveland, you ask? Well, those are down too, 3% as well. So less new listings and fewer active listings than this time last year. It's just crazy compared to other areas of the US. And just like other areas of the US, pending home sales down 9.6% in Cleveland. People aren't buying either. Not listing, not buying. But if you're waiting on massive price discounts in Cleveland, keep waiting. Median sale price is now up 13% year over year to $229,000. It's a 4-year high by far, not even close. Look at this. This is last year, 2024. Around this time, we were at 206, 207. Now, 229 in Cleveland. That's what happens, folks. The median sale price will continue to go up when there's a lack of activity, a lack of new listings, a lack of active listings, and a lack of people buying. I know it's not what everyone wants. People think, oh, the market's frozen, prices will drop. Not the way it works. All right, now let's go down south in Ohio and look at Cincinnati real quick. 0.3% up year over year in new listings. Nothing to write home about, basically flat. Again, like Cleveland, just stalled out with people adding homes to the market. But different than Cleveland, Cincinnati has 36%, call it 37% more active units for sale than this time last year. This has been trending the same way basically for the last 12 months, but it doesn't mean people are getting deals. It could just be a lot of homes out there that people don't want continue to sit on the market. Pending sales are also down 4%, like we can see. So if new listings explode and pending sales stay negative 4% or under trend, you're going to see active inventory rise substantially. That should drive the prices of homes down. That's how most markets will function. Look at that. We haven't crashed at all in Cincinnati in the last 4 years. Every year it keeps going up and up and up every year. Last year we ended at $285,000. Now $290,000. I think I'll wait to buy a home in Cincinnati. Oops. A lot of people on my channel have been talking about Southwest Florida, so I wanted to dive into the Tampa Bay area, see what's happening there. Again, completely different look when you examine some of these local metro markets. Look at new listings. They are down 0.4% year over year right now, but you could see that they were elevated earlier in the year. At one point, they were up 7.8% or 8%, however you want to look at it. And then look at active listings. Let's look at that real quick, and you're going to see what I mean. Look at active listings now. 16% more than last year. It's by far a 4-year high. They've got 20,000 homes for sale. That's a lot. Now, let's look at pending sales and see what we can find. Pending sales down 6.3%, and they've been low all year. So you've got lower pending sales. You've got new listings that are trying to make their way up, and then you've got active listings that are elevated. And what are you going to get through all that? Probably lower prices. Let's see if I'm right. And look at that, folks. Median sale price in Tampa Bay, Florida, down 2%. Now, it's not crashing, like it's not down 20%. But if you go back to the peak, you could see they were at $395,000 back in, June of last year. And now they're at $365,000. Now, there's seasonality. So you can see every year prices are lower, in the winter, and then in the spring and the summer, they go up. But right now, they are lower than they were last year. That could be because there's more new listings and there's a lot more active listings to choose from. That means you're going to find deals and sellers are going to compete with each other, and that's going to drive the prices down. If you want, again, I said this earlier, but if you want one metric to look at in your local housing market, pay attention to active inventory. If you just look at the prices, if you just drive around your neighborhood and go, oh, there's a for sale sign here, or I heard about somebody getting something, that doesn't count. Boots on the ground work is fantastic, but you have to take it with a grain of salt because there's a much bigger picture than that. So take a look at your entire area that you want to buy in and look at active listings. You see those exploding with new listings and you see the number of home sales dropping, prices should come down. We just saw what happens when you have a lot of active listings and lower pending sales. You get, generally speaking, lower prices. Take a look at Pittsburgh, PA, though, for a completely opposite look at the housing market. New listings in Pittsburgh, PA are down 2.7% year over year. Now, let's look at active listings and see where they are. I'm looking for this explosion of inventory that many claim is happening even in the Midwest. Well, I'm not seeing it. Down 2.45% in active listings. Now, let's look at pending sales in Pittsburgh and see how they're doing. They're down as well, 6%. So like Columbus, like Cleveland, like a lot of other areas in the U.S., there's just not a lot of buying and not a lot of selling. Now look at median sale price in Pittsburgh. I'm trying to find the crash. I can't find it. Up 6% year over year. It's a 4-year high by far. It is what it is, folks. Got no inventory, got no crash. Now this next one may surprise you, may not. Indianapolis, Indiana. Look at this. New listings down 4.8% year over year. Just not putting homes on the market in Indy, at least not yet. Let's look at active listings. Where are they? Oh my goodness, look at that. They're basically up 0.5 point, but they're headed straight down in active listings. So I'm trying to find that explosion of inventory in the Midwest. It's not here. And look at pending sales. No surprise, down like it is nationally, about 6%. Look at median sale price, $298,000. No crash at all. In fact, it's a 4-year high. It's the same broken record for many of these cities in the Midwest and the Northeast. In particular, they just keep marching forward despite what a lot of people hope, want, and wish. Hey, it's pretty fascinating, right? These different markets all have a different flavor to them. But remember, active inventory, that's that key metric you want to pay attention to. The more homes for sale, the lower the prices. If you have no inventory, it's really hard to have a crash. YouTube pundits like to point out that median household income is unhinged when it comes to the actual sale prices. They also say that overall, the cost of living has outweighed the benefit of buying a home, and it's much better to rent. Now, that's up to you to make that individual decision, but the one factor that I would suggest you pay attention to in your micro market, wherever you want to buy in, are active listings. If you're seeing active listings for the type of home and your price point skyrocket exponentially, that's a good indicator that prices could start to come down and you may be able to find a great deal. On the other hand, if you're not seeing active inventory explode, the opposite's probably true. Prices are going to remain sticky. Despite median household income, other economic factors, or whatever other boogeyman you want to introduce to the equation, at the end of the day, it comes down to supply and demand. It always has, it always will. It's economics 101. And a lot of people lately have been asking me about the 2008 housing crash and how that all occurred. You should check out my latest videos. I made a bunch of them this past week, all centered around 2008 versus what's happening now, and if we're headed for another massive housing bubble pop. Here's one right now, and you can check it out right here, right there.